Welcome back to the UK Crypto Podcast. I'm Paula, and as always, I'm joined by Matty. Today, we're asking a question that a lot of crypto users quietly believe but rarely say out loud. Is the media deliberately anti-crypto? Because whenever prices fall, it's everywhere. When companies collapse, it leads to news. But when adoption grows, licenses are approved, or infrastructure improves, it barely gets a mention. So in this episode, we're going to look at whether it's a bias, ignorance, incentives, or something more deliberate. Right, let's get into it.
Before we start, a big shout out to today's video sponsor, which is the Hundreds Club. The Hundreds Club is a clothing brand which is fast becoming a movement within crypto. But they're not just a clothing brand, they're also a watch brand. We'll be putting the web address on the screen so you can go and check them out yourself. So, let's get into it.
Let's start with something simple. Is this even about crypto, or is it just how the media works?
Basically, fear and outrage is exactly how media sells. News sells. That's the phrase that we're told.
Yeah.
And you know what? Boring doesn't sell newspapers. And in today's world, boring doesn't get clicks.
Yeah, exactly. Sensationalized headlines. You see it all the time, don't you? And I've made content about this before on my YouTube channel where you see these wild, outrageous headlines, and it feels like you've got one story that says one thing, the next story says something else, the next story says something else. And particularly as a retail trader, where do you even go with this? But it is those big headlines that get clicks in the first place.
So there are two different types of media for crypto, and I want us to separate them and be clear which ones we're talking about here. So there are crypto-related media, which often tend to be overly bullish on purpose.
Yeah.
We're not talking about them. We're talking about the traditional media.
Mainstream.
The big boys, the red top newspapers, the big traditional finance newspapers globally. We're talking about the Daily Mail, the Daily Mirror, the Sun, the Financial Times, the Independent, the big boys in the UK.
Yeah.
These are the ones where actually, are they friend or are they foe?
Yeah, and I mean, it's been controversial, hasn't it? If you look at over the last 20 years of the media in the UK, there's been so much where I think the average person is really questioning the ethos behind a lot of this mainstream media. But the truth is, media is a business. And we've got to remember that the attention that those headlines get equals revenue for those companies.
We see it with influencers on a very small scale.
Yeah.
Attention equals views.
Yeah, exactly.
Views for them equals money.
Yeah.
It's that on a jumbo scale.
Yeah, exactly. Because like if you've got market crash and you're saying that on the front page of your newspaper or your website, then that's going to create urgency. It's going to grab attention.
On the flip side of that, if they put out a story saying crypto market growth, nobody's interested.
No, exactly.
Nobody's interested. They want the sensational headline, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And there's nothing more sensational than a problem.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you might have a headline that's like £1 billion wiped out. Well, you're going to read that, aren't you? Because you're going to want to know what the hell has wiped out £1 billion.
Yeah, but if you're in crypto long enough, you'll know that happens on a regular.
Yeah, exactly. But it sounds dramatic.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It does. It definitely. I mean, if I said to you, which headline are you going to read? The £1 billion wiped out or infrastructure quietly improves? Which one are you going to read?
But it's right though, isn't it? It's right. This is why clickbait works, doesn't it? It does work.
Exactly. I mean, like if you look back to when FTX collapsed, it was in every single bulletin, wasn't it? It was everywhere. But when BlackRock launched its Bitcoin ETF, well, it was hardly covered.
No, I mean, to be fair, the FTX collapse was horrific, right?
I get it.
But in the example that you're using, which one's going to get more traction from people that aren't in crypto? Because let's face it, their main target audience of mainstream media isn't crypto people, because we're in a minority.
Yeah.
So they're trying to create headlines for the majority of people to read.
Yeah.
And the majority of people aren't going to be interested in brand new exchange launch that's just got a license in the UK. They're not bothered.
They don't care.
No. But if they read huge crypto exchange collapses and crashes Bitcoin 80% or whatever happened at the time, I can't remember the figures now, that's going to prick their interest, right?
Yeah.
I've heard of that Bitcoin thing. that's that thing that there's like, it's that financial digital money stuff. I've heard about that. It's quite important. Oh my God, it's collapsed.
Yeah.
It's in their brain now. Crypto's dead.
Yeah, exactly. But you hear that all the time, don't you? I mean, crypto and Bitcoin must have been declared dead hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Hundreds of times. But
I got told this last week.
Do you think it happens every bear market though? Like every bear market that is feeding into sentiment, aren't they?
So as we record this now, we're now mid-March.
Yeah.
We are in smack bang in the middle of a 8-9 month pullback, right? But we haven't had the huge fear narrative yet.
Yeah.
At the recording of this, there's still the Iran conflict going on. I don't know how deep that's going to go. But we haven't had the massive fear narrative. Every major bear market has the thing, the FTX thing, the COVID thing, whatever it will be, right?
Yeah.
We haven't had the thing yet. So we're still expecting one massive drama for this to be the bottom of the bear market. And that, whatever that big thing is, that's the one that will lead the headlines.
Yeah.
They won't say, "Oh, we've been in a 9-month bear." I don't think we have been in a 9-month drift down. We'll word it like that. I'm more comfortable for me to say that. But in that 9-month drift down, they'll just say that exact thing in that precise moment.
Is what
Terror.
crashed it. Yeah.
Even if the pullbacks now from this point is only another 20%, they will put it on that, and that'll be the narrative.
But do you think that the mainstream media, and I don't think it's just in the UK, I think it's across the world, dramatises bad news? And that dramatisation of bad news is what the media is just really about. And if I'm honest, I actively don't watch mainstream news. I find it makes me sad, and I don't see any kind of positive related to that. So if I'm honest, I watch some of the financial news and I read a lot about crypto because that's what I'm interested in. But I just think the mainstream news, I just don't trust them anymore. It's depressing.
I used to watch a lot of news. Like I quite enjoy watching the news, and I still do read a lot of news. Now I don't tend to watch the normal traditional news anymore. I do quite often put some kind of news on in the background if there's something happening in particular. I'll have it on the background all day, won't I? You know I do that in the content room. I'll just leave it on all day in the background and turn it off when I'm recording. But I don't really trust the media anymore. I feel
it's
like
not very balanced, is it?
I feel like they've let us down on so many subjects that retrospectively, then when it comes out, you think, well, they didn't have our interests at heart.
Yeah.
Because you think about news reporting, right? You think, if it was done by honourable people, in fact, it was probably at one point was a really honourable job, wasn't it? You're going along, finding the stories to educate the people. So newspapers would have been around back in the day. I don't know when newspapers came out, but...
Hundreds of years ago.
Even if you go back to Victorian times, where one of the only ways to communicate would have been a letter, word of mouth,
or a newspaper.
Yeah. So most people would have got their world views from newspapers, right? You think about times of wars and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's how they would have probably found out even like wars were potential or ending, all the rest of it. So it come from a different time, and that was probably such a vital lifeline for everybody to learn about anything. And now things have changed. Now everything's online. Now we've got social media. Now we've got people's media, which is a different drill, isn't it? Because now I think that the mainstream media is nothing more, that's probably a bit too far, but it's often the mouthpiece of powerful organisations and people, and I just don't trust it. Do
you think that for very, very many years that it has been propaganda, and
100%.
it has been? So, even if you looked back at the time when you believed that was how people learned about the world,
it probably was propaganda then as well.
It was probably propaganda now. Propaganda then. But I think what we've got now is we've got this people's media,
which and changes the rules.
Well, it changes the rules because it's starting to open people's perspectives to start questioning the information that they're being given, and it's very difficult, isn't it? Even when you're looking at the people's media, whose agenda are these things being portrayed through? And I think that's why I am not a big fan of particularly watching a lot of social media content, because I just always feel like there isn't many people out there that are really being honest, and there are a few people that I follow that I do feel like they're giving a more balanced opinion. And I'm also really always interested in listening to the people that are telling a story that goes against what the mainstream media is talking about, because I'm interested in really trying to understand what's going on and not just kind of the rhetoric, but it's difficult to understand what's really even going on in the world, because you just don't understand who's paying for this news to go out.
Well, this is the thing, like, I mean, media's a business.
It is. It's
literally sell their
probably one of the
service.
biggest businesses in the world.
Yeah. I mean, also, who owns the medias?
Yeah.
Big, massive conglomerate corporations
Yeah.
that also own what?
Yeah.
Banks.
Exactly.
Like, it's a thing, isn't it?
And you
Sounds
see the
almost
same,
like a conspiracy theory said that, but it's factual.
Yeah, well, you see the same with social media platforms, don't you? Because some content is allowed to be put out there and goes viral, and some of the best videos with the most information are actually not able to have that access.
Yeah.
So it's a really difficult time that we're in at the moment, and I think that there are a lot of people that are still buying into the rhetoric that's being sold without questioning it enough. And I see this now dripping down into social media, because where social media, I think, started was giving people a more balanced view. But I think it's probably leading in now into more of the mainstream kind of rhetoric as well.
Yeah, it's difficult to know what to trust on social media as well. Like, I mean, as I've mentioned on a previous podcast a few episodes ago, I've been tapped up by a political party to see where my allegiances would lay, to decide whether I would be friend or foe, whether giving the nod about whether I think somebody would be good for the country to lead the country or not in a general election.
Yeah.
We're 3 years away from a general election.
Yeah.
If they're doing the rounds now, what's the next general election going to look like in terms of social media content?
Yeah.
It could be a minefield.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be, because if we think about how blockchain, how crypto is going to evolve in 3 years, I think there's going to be huge amounts of change.
Yeah.
And I think that if the next leaders of the United Kingdom are not going to integrate some kind of crypto into their manifestos, they're going to be behind.
Yeah, massively behind.
Yeah.
I think crypto is going to be a huge thing.
Yeah.
I think crypto media over the next 3, 4, 5 years is going to be huge, especially with an election coming up. We saw it in America for 2024. All of a sudden, it went from not important to really important very quickly.
Yeah, and the majority of the successful candidates were sponsored by crypto firms.
76 or 77% of the runners that were donated and sponsored by crypto firms won.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised
Money talks,
to see
right?
crypto investment into the political parties in the UK as well.
Well, it's happened. So we've already seen this happening, and that's why Labour are trying to get crypto payments banned into political parties in the UK.
Yeah.
Because they realised that Reform were getting so many crypto donations.
Yeah.
So they're trying to stop it.
Yeah.
So that's already, they're trying to plug that gap. But when they're talking about the media in particular, I do believe this is going to be huge. I think we're talking about something now which is early doors. If you fast forward 2, 3, 4 years, I reckon everybody's going to be talking about this subject. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think one of the things that frustrates me is how rarely the media separates the technology away from the bad actors. The media often lumps together blockchains, exchanges, scams, and meme coins as if they're all one thing.
Yeah, so I was contacted by ITV.
Yeah.
Major, huge UK broadcaster.
Yeah.
And this guy has been tasked with to make content for ITV in 2026, Well, not just him, but part of a team, because they've realised that crypto is actually becoming more and more popular. So they want to do some news segments. They want to have some independent TV shows about it. They want to talk about. They were talking to me about scams.
What
they want to talk about. And they were talking about different elements throughout the year.
Yeah.
I was like, cool. I was talking to him and I was like, you don't know about crypto, do you? He said, no. I was like, how did you get the gig?
Yeah.
And he said, what do you mean? I work here. I went, why didn't they give it to somebody that understood crypto? This would be way easier for you. He went, there isn't anybody.
Mad.
I was like, rah. I didn't say it to him, but I was thinking, so you guys are about to make a TV program on crypto and you know nothing about crypto.
Yeah.
That's mental.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it's interesting because they've approached you because they're focusing on scams.
Yeah.
It's easy, isn't it? That's an easy
They didn't come to me
one.
and go, Matt, can we talk about the UK adoption of crypto?
Yeah.
They said to me, Matt, can we talk about the nearly 1,000 accounts with your face on it online, which are scamming people?
Yeah.
Because that's sensational. That's scary. That's something I get. Do you know what though? I'm glad they're doing that, because the more people that understand that story, the less people are going to get scammed.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But they don't want to talk about it, about the good stuff.
No, they're not
interested in the happy bits.
They're not talking about all the adoption that could potentially happen and the integration into the financial system and how that could benefit people.
They're not talking about people that have changed their lives in crypto. They want the bad, negative, fear stories, the big dumb EastEnders in it, dumb.
Exactly. And I mean, look at the amount of media coverage that there was about that woman that they caught with the Bitcoin scam.
The Chinese lady.
Yeah. It was huge. It was everywhere because
it was a big scam though.
It was a big scam, and don't get me wrong, I'm not negating it, but where's the good news stories?
So they do come out, but they're tiny.
Yeah.
They get no traction.
Yeah.
And they're certainly not making the TV or the telly news, are they?
Yeah.
Which is why I always say to people, if you see a positive Bitcoin story on the news at 10, that is a very, very, very good sign. It could be time to start scaling out and taking some profits.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they start going, Bitcoin's hit $180,000 today, or whatever the price is they're saying. I'm probably saying pounds in the UK, whatever it will be. And they're saying it's an all-time high. You need to be alert and going, okay.
Yeah.
If the mainstream media want to talk about something positive, it means it is so positive that they can't get away from it. They feel forced to talk about it.
Yeah.
You could be near a top now.
Yeah.
Or at least you might even be past the top. The top might have been 2 days ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then they're also on a lag.
Yeah.
Whenever they're talking about something you do with crypto, there's a lag to it. It might not even be days, it could be weeks out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the other thing that we have seen in the mainstream media for a lot of years is how we've got a decentralized money system, and again we go back to this: who pays for the mainstream media and the rhetoric that's being sold? Because there was so much media coverage about Bitcoin, the dark web, the criminals using it, this idea that it was used by hackers and people that were sitting in dark rooms, and I think there is still a generation of people that think that.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably coming because central governments and banks are worried about how crypto could potentially affect the long-term traditional finance system.
Yeah, for sure. I think there was definitely a push for that narrative, and they succeeded because there are. I get it less now, but there was definitely a time when I mentioned crypto, they'd be like, "Ooh." I
know everybody'd be like, "Oh, it's a bit dodgy, isn't it?" Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Not really." Yeah. Not really. Not really. I've never met a terrorist. When I went on the exchanges, I've never chatted to Al Qaeda. Do you know what I mean? But that's what people's narrative were for quite a while. It's not so bad now. Not so bad now, to be fair. But there was definitely a time before the governments thought, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
And then they started looking at investigating it. Now people have softened on that. But there was definitely a time where that was a thing.
Yeah, because I think that also you get this idea in the mainstream media that fraud using crypto, because the mainstream media talk a lot about fraud. They talk about a lot of fraud using crypto, but fraud using crypto is not the same as crypto being a fraud.
No. So if you had somebody that was doing fraud via a restaurant, you wouldn't then say all restaurants are fraudulent.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you?
Exactly.
It's just that fraudster used that restaurant at that time and it became a famous case.
Yeah.
Same with crypto.
Yeah, exactly. But I think because you've got this backstory that they've created for years about hackers and about scammers and all of this, it's an easy link, isn't it? And I think it's being lazy, if I'm honest.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, that is just lazy journalism, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, there's no real separation between infrastructure and speculation. So if you've got Ripple that builds cross-border payments and those payment rails are global, well, that's infrastructure. But when you've got influencers pumping a token, that's speculation.
I mean, they're completely different things.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But but listen, you're never going to see, well, I say never, you never know one day, but you don't really see mainstream media like shilling anything. That's not a thing, is it?
No. No, but and then that it kind of fits into the people's media kind of section, doesn't it?
Well, that's where the lines get blurred then, isn't it? Because if you're consuming your news from people media, well, you don't know who's in their pocket.
No, exactly. And I think this younger generation is not watching the news anymore. I think they are consuming their news through social media.
And I don't blame them. I don't blame the younger generation for that. I don't like kids don't watch telly for a start.
No, I know, it's a completely different.
We've got 4 teenagers in our house. And none of them watch TV. They all watch screens and they all absorb content. But they get their news, don't they, from short clips. From various sources. Like they all seem to be up to date with general affairs, but it comes via a different medium. Gone are the days where when I was their age, if I wanted to know what was going on, I just sat in front of the TV and watched
10 o'clock news.
Watch 10 o'clock news, or I'd watch the lunchtime news. I sat there eating my sandwich, going, I'll leave the news on, see what's happening in the world. They don't do that anymore. They will get an algorithm to go, that's a good thing for that person to watch today. Which is it's a new world, isn't it?
But I think going back to the infrastructure and speculation, I think both of those kind of get merged together as the same thing, and there's this crypto chaos because people don't understand crypto enough to understand what this infrastructure is that's being built in the background. And even the people that I think are quite knowledgeable about crypto, and you see people in our accounts when they're commenting and they're obviously crypto holders, they expect when you get a good news story about infrastructure that it's going to automatically affect price. And I just think that this education piece around actually what is going on and just some reality would do people some real good.
I made a TikTok on this last week. I think I might put it on YouTube Shorts as well. And it was exactly explaining that. It was saying that quite often people will be bombarded by 2 types of content. And the first type of content is like the one that I deliver, which is about news, which is about infrastructure and that type of thing. And then the other one is like the aspirational, the moon boy shot. Well, they might be saying, I believe that XRP is going to reach $1,000 a coin. And the average end user or somebody watching YouTube or TikTok or whatever, they'll see both of those types of content in their brain. They merge them so they're like connected. So then when they see a good news story happen, like I'm saying, if Ripple go and get G treasuries, it's rumored, and if they close that deal, it's fantastic. Then they see the one going, fantastic news, Ripple has done the deal. They've now taken over G treasuries. It's now a massive thing. And they go, well, why hasn't the price moved? It's because those 2 stories were never connected in the first time. Those 2 types of content were never connected, and then they're putting them together in their head.
Yeah, exactly. Because the wider story about crypto, it doesn't fit into a 30-second news segment, does it? It just doesn't. And I think that it's not... There isn't enough education in this space. I mean, how good would it be if ITN came to you and said, do you know what, we don't understand crypto, and I think a lot of our audience don't understand crypto, so instead of going and doing a documentary on scamming, why don't we do some education pieces? But they're not doing these kind of things, and I think there's going to be massive parts of our population in the UK that just don't understand crypto, and I think the only way that integration is going to happen is if it happens in the background and people don't know it and they don't feel it. And I just hope that for the next generation coming along, the education improves around that.
Well, I think that is going to change. So if you look at the deal that we've just signed, have we mentioned this on the podcast? This could be an exclusive, half the press. So we have, it's actually not half the press. We've been working on this for weeks. But it's the first time we've mentioned it on social media?
Yeah, I think so.
I've never mentioned it on my socials, have you?
No.
Okay, this is actually an exclusive then for the UK Crypto Podcast. So we have signed a deal for the podcast, the one you're watching right now, for the episodes to be used on the first ever crypto TV channel, and it is called UK Crypto TV.
Yeah.
And it's a digital TV station which is going to be available on Samsung and Sony TVs.
Yeah.
So you know when you go your internet TV stations that are on those smart TVs.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those stations there on there. It's the first ever time there's been a crypto channel, and we've done a deal, so they're going to be able to use our content going around in circles. So it does mean at some point, Paula, we're going to have to start changing the outros on here and saying if you're watching on YouTube, blah 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 blah. If you're watching on UK Crypto TV, blah blah blah. So we have to change that at some point, which is quite exciting. But the point I'm making is, even though mainstream media aren't doing what they need to at the moment, people are attempting to plug the hole.
Yeah.
So you've got people's media trying to plug the hole.
Yeah.
You've got this particular company going, well, you know what? Well, crypto's not represented properly on the TV.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do a TV channel.
Yeah.
So these things are happening in the background.
Yeah.
And I think there is that more of a drift away from mainstream media, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
But do you think that if, like, going back to the ITV thing, if you've got a team there that are responsible for producing the news content that goes out there that doesn't understand crypto, well, instead of them educating themselves, the things that are complex that they don't understand are just going to end up turning into fear narratives because that's easier.
Yeah. Absolutely right. Because let's face it, quite often with news articles, they need to be fast.
Yeah.
And crypto is complex.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to communicate that to somebody that knows nothing about crypto. Sometimes crypto stories are complex for people that are into crypto.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to explain that to me granddad.
Yeah.
What? He would go, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're talking another language.
Yeah.
So they have to condense it down, don't they? And then they miss the broader narrative.
Yeah.
Or the complexity to the story gets completely trimmed out.
Yeah.
And you just get the highlight, which is quite often shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
It is quite often shit. Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we talk about media, we should probably talk about the kind of incentives and advertising that are attached to it as well. Because we touched before on who is financing the media that goes out, and obviously the banks are major advertisers in mainstream media.
Yeah.
It's not even in question. And then crypto, well, it actually competes with TradFi, so there is going to be a conflicting interest there, isn't there? Maybe we'll start to see crypto companies putting some money into advertising, and maybe that will change.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, if you go back to the episode we were talking about last, which was about banks, what happens when banks are heavily invested in crypto? And then we know the banks are so powerful when it comes to media. Maybe that's shift will come. Maybe that's when they go, whoa.
Yeah.
Stop running so many negative things. You're affecting our banking customers here. We're getting rattled.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So maybe that one day that'll happen, potentially.
Yeah. And I mean, in the UK, you've also got the FCA that are issuing guidance. So I think that's probably going to be, if you've got mainstream media that don't understand crypto, well, are they going to try and make sure that the stories that they're putting out are going to be dumbed down because they don't want to be risking any kind of compliance issues from the FCA as well?
I mean, that's just a minefield on its own. That's a podcast on its own, to be honest. But yeah, 100% you're right.
Yeah.
One of the things that quite often rattles me, and it shouldn't, not many things rattle me, but this one does, right? Is when they're saying things like crackdown.
Yeah.
Instead of clarity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just that little change of what, same story.
Yeah.
Same story.
Yeah.
It's just about the way they're wording it and packaging it.
Crackdown on regulation.
Yeah, well, it's not a crackdown on regulation.
Clarity
they're literally
on
working really hard to get some clarity here.
Yeah.
So everybody knows what the rules are.
Yeah.
But they quite often will talk about it in a negative, derogatory way, which obviously that slants people's the way they're looking at it.
Yeah.
And when you actually look at what they're doing, it's really positive.
Yeah.
But it's never worded like that.
No, exactly.
And the British media are bad for that.
I think they're probably some of the worst in the world.
Oh, well, I think the rest of the world doesn't like our media.
No. And the reality is that for so many major stories across particularly the last couple of decades, they've done a really, really bad job of representing the people that they were talking about.
100%.
So,
I'll tell you what else you see them do. You know, when institutions get involved in any kind of crypto stuff, they'll always say that it's a speculation.
Yeah.
Why are you not describing it as an adoption?
Yeah.
Those two, same story, two different words being used, but they always have that narrative.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. If you look at the crypto-related news stuff, like from crypto places with news and stuff, they'll be overly bullish with their language, mainstream overly negative with their language, exactly the same stories.
Yeah, exactly. Because things like regulation focus on bans. They don't focus on the long-term frameworks that are being built. Because actually, we've got a story at the moment in the UK where the government are working on the long-term framework for stablecoins. The media coverage of that has been really appalling. That should be something that we're talking about, because this is going to be integrated moving forward. It's going to affect day-to-day users in the UK. But we can't just say we're banning you holding more than £20,000 worth of UK stablecoins. Okay.
And just leave that
and just leave it in the air. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, let's talk about what is actually being built and how that then integrates and gives clarity and all the rest of it. Because even with the information they have put out, it's just not clear enough, and it's just so frustrating.
Do you think it's done like that by design? Are they doing that on purpose to create this air of uncertainty, or do you think that they're just taking the easy option and doing a negative story because they know negative news sells? What I mean is, do you think there's a bigger side to this? Do you think somewhere around news desks they're going, meetings are held where they go, we need to talk about this in a negative way?
Well, if you were the editor of The Sun and I brought to you an article that was going to create clicks, create clickbait, be shared virally, or I was going to give you an education piece that we both know wasn't going to be successful, ultimately these are businesses. And I think you've got an element of, if you don't have enough... Okay, let's take it back a stage. How many news desks have got a crypto specialist? I don't think that they probably do. Based on the amount of articles that are going out in this space, I don't think mainstream media cover crypto enough. So if you don't have somebody that's knowledgeable enough to write the articles, then you're just gonna sensationalize the bad news, surely.
Yeah, completely. And I think you've hit on a good point there. And I feel like I should be setting one of our team members the task of getting my name in front of some desks.
Yeah.
I could do that for them.
Yeah,
I could do that for them. Do you think this is a good time to talk about my new role?
Absolutely.
You think so? Because it kind of fits in.
Yeah.
I'd actually forgotten halfway until just a moment ago, and I thought, actually, we could mention what's happened. So for those of you know, I am full-time crypto. Crypto is my life. I live and breathe it. Crypto is how I pay my bills. And I took a job.
Well done, mate.
That was something I never thought I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, an opportunity arose for me to be able to take something on that is in the crypto space where I thought it would be beneficial to my brand, beneficial to the podcast, and also beneficial for people to be able to get some more information in a different medium.
Yeah.
So I have taken on a role for the world's largest printed crypto magazine.
Yeah.
It's called The Crypto Magazine. Just over 500,000 readership per edition.
Yeah.
It's available in every English-speaking country globally. So Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America.
South Africa?
I haven't seen South Africa on the list, although to be fair, I was so excited when I saw America, Canada, Australia. I think I also went, eee, and then I didn't read the rest of the list. But yeah, all of those. I mean, it's available in every major retailer in the UK, including like Asda. I mean, did you know that WH Smith's isn't called WH Smith's anymore?
No, it's called
T.G. Jones.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Yeah. Because
I was like, I'm off to WH Smith's. Doesn't exist. Where the hell?
Well, did you know that WH Smith's in the airports and WH Smith's in your high street are not the same company?
So they're two separate companies. They got bought out. Yeah, two different companies, same branding.
Yeah.
Not connected in any way, shape or form.
Different branding now, but yeah.
Yeah, different branding now. So yeah, that's a new. So like that's probably a foothold for me to baby steps to start doing some form of journalism. Let's get it straight. Yeah. Because I've been given no boundaries on what I can talk about, report on.
But
which is brilliant. But they've literally gone, whatever you think, we'll look at it and make a judgment on it. I don't know how I'll feel one day if I make something and they go, yeah, no. Right? I mean, listen, but that's what it is. So I'm new to this world. So I'm literally just opening up on the podcast. I've never even said this to you yet. I don't know how this is actually going to work. But the first one that's gone in, it's gone out. So basically it was a slight more education piece. And we were talking about the boom in August and the crash and the way it's mentally affected people and that resilience and stuff. So it's very comfortable for me to write that, easy. So I'm going to try and take myself out of my comfort zone and talk about some things that I wouldn't normally do. So we'll see how that pans out. So who knows where that leads? Maybe one day somebody might say, there's that guy that's writing articles for them. Would he be able to do an article for somebody else? That's an interesting journey potentially for me. Because I would love to have articles in mainstream media and be writing it properly from a crypto perspective. Instead of like ITV, where they're contacting me and going, we need to do a piece, and they know nothing about crypto. So that's an interesting journey for me. I just wanted to share that with the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think over the next couple of years, these journalists need to up their game. Because if we have the mainstream adoption, like I think we're going to, they either educate themselves or they're out. And that's, in my opinion, the reality, because if you work in any kind of financial journalism, you need to know what's going on in crypto. It's not even in question. And yes, you can read the Financial Times, but I think it's wider than that now. It's going to affect day-to-day retail people. It's not even investors, because your day-to-day banking is going to change.
Yeah.
So even if you have no investments, your day-to-day banking is going to change, and that's going to affect every single person.
Yeah, I think we'll see this when we tie all this together. If we talk about potentially the next election, that it's going to be important for crypto, we can see the banks are getting involved in crypto. We're going to see this shift, and I think crypto content is going to shift. All of a sudden, there's going to be, instead of the most readership about crypto content being creators on TikTok, I think we are going to see some creators like myself that are then starting to venture into slightly bigger stuff. What happens when one day a content creator they say to them, listen, we're about to be on a TV station.
Yeah, I know,
Right? What happens when a major TV station either goes, they're awesome, get them on board, or they go, they're awesome, that's a good concept, let's replicate it with different people.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've got a similar thing to this that's on Channel 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
These things are going to happen.
Yeah.
By the way, Channel 4, if you are watching, don't replace us with people that you think's better than us. Use us. Literally use us. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the truth is, whether we want to accept it or not, crypto's here and it's here to stay. It's not going away. There is too much money involved. I mean, if you just took Ripple as an isolated company, look at the investment that company has made over the last two years in acquisitions. They have invested billions and billions of dollars. So they're not investing that without the foresight to think that they're going to get their money back and more. So that's just one example of that. How these markets move and how they're integrated, I think is definitely changing.
Let's zoom out for a second, because this isn't just about crypto.
No, it's not. It's not. I think the trust in mainstream media is declining.
Fact.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's not just the younger generations. I think our age, I think everybody, maybe your granddad is still going to watch the news and believe everything that he sees, but I think that generation is not the norm anymore. No,
I think that's definitely going to be a thing. I think I think the mainstream media are going to have to shift and change to keep up. To keep up and to keep those numbers, otherwise it will drift and they won't go down without a fight.
No.
I think they will evolve.
I
think they will evolve.
But I think they have to. I think they have to. And I think it's not just trust in mainstream media. I think trust in institutions is declining as well. I think when we look at all these big corporations around the world, everybody's wondering why they all have so much power.
Yeah, they'll say, what is that connected with? Who is owning that? And there's more suspicion now than there's ever been, isn't there? And that kind of thing.
Who's connected to that? And which governor in the States is sitting on that board? And it's just... It feels murky at the moment, and I don't think I'm the only one that feels like that. I think the world feels murky. It feels like there's an agenda that many of us normal people just don't know anything about, and that trust is definitely reducing. And I guess it's where crypto fits in so well, because that was anti-establishment, wasn't it? And I think that it's probably becoming so popular because this idea is that it's decentralized, but then the big corporations and the institutions realize that, and now they're integrating it, and it's
we're still, though, crypto's still not like totally fallen to centralized stuff, right? And it is still decentralized to an element. And if it does manage to succeed in that way, then it changes the rules for everybody. So this hybrid of, I don't like corporations, and then we all get really excited when corporations and institutions get involved in crypto. Sometimes people in crypto are more confused than Scooby-Doo, man. Which do you want? Do you want the decentralized, or are you going to be gassed that institutions are pumping your bags? Do you know what I mean? So there's that. That's a thing.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I think that I think we live in a world where money rules, and we all know that if the institutions get involved in crypto, the price will go up. And I think ultimately everybody wants the price to go up because everybody wants the aspirational lifestyle. But I just wonder at what cost is that going to be for our long-term future? Because we're living in a world where I just don't know what it's going to look like in 50 years' time. We've got the introduction of AI. I think it's going to evolve beyond our wildest dreams. And I think that the next generations are going to live in a completely different way to how we do. And for me, it's worrying and scary because actually there's been a lot of, over the years, there's been a lot of fight for freedom and liberty. And I just wonder if we're slightly going back on that a little bit. But I feel like it's beyond our control. And that's a difficult position for me to sit in because it doesn't feel comfortable.
I think when it comes to mainstream media, if they don't adapt and change, if we just talk about crypto in particular, if they don't adapt, it's not even just crypto, it's everything. But if they don't adapt and change and start bringing in people that understand it so they can put it across in the right way, then people will drift away from watching their content with them and they'll go to other places. And then the people that are funding you in the first place, if they don't see value for money, they're going to put their money elsewhere. So you might start to see money drifting away from mainstream media and more into social media stuff. We're already seeing that already in some aspects. But I
saw on TikTok the other day that there were mainstream media channels on TikTok.
GB News were on there.
BBC News are on there.
I've never seen BBC.
So
Fox News is on there. They live stream stuff. Fox News do.
So
really good.
You've got mainstream media channels that are actually on social media now. I think it's probably sensible. It's the way the world's going. Because ultimately, I don't think that the kids don't watch live TV. We know that. So if you've now going to have generations that are not tuning into the 10 o'clock news, then ultimately, I think it's probably not going to be aired in the future, so they have to evolve.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, once upon a time, if you'd have told people that nobody's interested in landline numbers anymore, they wouldn't have believed them, would you? Well,
no, exactly. If you told your nan that nobody's going to watch Coronation Street, she wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah.
But
things change.
Yeah, exactly.
They have to adapt.
Yeah.
Because if they don't adapt, I think things will go the wrong way. But I believe it's a sensible thing. I think mainstream media are going to have to start bringing in some people that understand crypto into their world. Yeah. I'm available. Call me. I'm available. But yeah, TV or print, we're happy to do both.
We are, absolutely.
But yeah, no, I do think that's, all joking aside, I do think that shift is going to happen. But as it stands right now, they've got to stop being so negative.
Absolutely. But do you think it's incompetence, misunderstanding, or just resistance to change?
I think it's just laziness.
Yeah, it's bad, isn't it?
It's just clickbait.
It is.
It's like if I was going to make a lazy clickbait video,
but
I don't have to think about it a lot, do I? They don't have to. They know what they're doing,
man. But if your business model is getting clicks, then that's not lazy. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
That's a very good point. You've made a very good point. They just need to be better.
I think so too. I think people want better. I do genuinely believe that people want better. People are clicking on these stories. I don't think that somebody clicks on a story that says £1 billion wiped out because they want some kind of clickbait story. I think it's all right to have a sensational headline to get people into reading what you've got to say. But I think there should be more balance and more substance in the stories that are there.
So maybe it isn't a case of that the media is secretly anti-crypto. It's just that they are nothing better than some of the TikTokers that are looking for clicks.
Yeah, exactly.
They're looking for views.
Fear sells, doesn't it?
So it's not like some big conspiracy. It literally is, according to what you're saying now. And do you know what? I think you might have brought me on side with that one. They literally are just going for the views.
I think the complexity of it is too hard to explain, and then they just don't bother.
And they know that if they go, in a headline, people are going to go, whoa, what's that?
Yeah.
And that's no different to the fearmongers on TikTok.
I know. But it's bad, isn't it?
Surely they've got to be better than that.
I know.
I think that's a great way to end. Basically, they're clickbaiting. They're clickbaiting all of us.
We're all falling for their tricks.
When I started this conversation, I just wanted us to not come to that conclusion. But you know what? I think I agree with you, man. They're just clickbaiting us. And you know what? Either we've got to wise up to them to force them to change, or we need them to find some morals to change. Okay, so we're going to have to force the change. Fine. We are the power to the people. We'll force the change in mainstream media. Right. I appreciate you, Paula. That's been a great episode. Thanks to everybody that's been watching. Please remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the hype button. It's free to press and it gives the channel an algorithm boost.
And don't forget, every new episode is dropped on a Friday, 7 p.m. UK time, right here on YouTube. You can also access it on Spotify, and we will link the playlist. So if you haven't caught up with the previous episodes, check them out.
Right. We'll see you on the next one.